There is a battle taking place inside you at this very moment. It is not happening in the world around you. It is not between you and another person. It is not about your circumstances, your past, or your future. The greatest battle you will ever fight is the one between your conscious self and the endless stream of thoughts that constantly demand your attention. Every day, thousands of thoughts enter your mind. Some inspire you to grow, while others quietly convince you to stay small. Some give you courage, while others fill you with fear. The question is not whether these thoughts exist. The question is simple: who is in control? Many people spend their entire lives trying to control everything around them. They try to change other people, chase perfect opportunities, or wait for ideal conditions before they begin living the life they desire. Yet they overlook the one thing that shapes every experience they have: their own mind. A restless mind creates a restless life. A fearful mind creates fearful decisions. A disciplined mind creates limitless possibilities. Before you can lead your life, you must first learn to lead your thoughts. Your mind is an extraordinary tool, but only when it serves you. Left unattended, it becomes a prison built from doubt, anxiety, comparison, and endless distractions. It whispers excuses that sound reasonable. It tells you to wait until tomorrow. It convinces you that comfort is safer than growth. It reminds you of every failure while making you forget every victory. And if you never question these thoughts, they slowly become your identity. You begin believing that you are your fear, your anger, your insecurity, or your limitations. But you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. The moment you become aware of this truth, something powerful begins to change. You stop reacting to every emotion that appears. You stop allowing temporary feelings to dictate permanent decisions. Instead of being dragged by every passing thought, you learn to stand still and observe. In that moment of awareness, you discover freedom. Not because the negative thoughts disappear, but because they no longer control your actions. Think about the strongest people you have ever admired. Their strength was never measured by how little difficulty they faced. It was measured by how well they governed their minds when life became difficult. They remained calm while others panicked. They stayed focused while others became distracted. They acted with wisdom while others reacted with emotion. Their greatest achievement was not controlling the world around them. It was mastering the world within them. Every habit you build begins with a thought. Every relationship you strengthen or destroy begins with a thought. Every dream you pursue or abandon begins with a thought. Your future is not created by chance. It is created by the quality of what you repeatedly allow to live inside your mind. If you constantly feed fear, fear becomes your reality. If you repeatedly cultivate discipline, gratitude, patience, and clarity, your entire life begins to transform from the inside out. Do not underestimate the power of a single thought. One thought can make you give up just before success. One thought can stop you from speaking when your voice is needed. One thought can convince you that you are not enough. But one disciplined thought can also change everything. It can inspire one courageous action, one new habit, one better decision, and eventually an entirely different life. Today is not about learning how to think more. It is about learning how to think wisely. It is about recognizing that your greatest freedom is not found in controlling external events, but in choosing your response to them. The mind that you train today will become the life that you live tomorrow. And when you finally learn to control your thoughts, you will discover that you were never searching for control over life itself. You were searching for mastery over the one place where every victory and every defeat truly begins. Every reality you experience begins long before it becomes visible. It starts in a place that no one else can see, your mind. Before your hands move, before your words are spoken, before your habits are formed, a thought appears. This thought may seem small and insignificant, but repeated often enough, it becomes a belief. That belief shapes your attitude. Your attitude influences your actions. Your actions become your habits. And your habits quietly build the direction of your entire life. This is why mastering your thoughts is not a luxury reserved for the wise. It is a necessity for anyone who desires a meaningful and disciplined life. The quality of your future depends greatly on the quality of the thoughts you choose to entertain today. Most people believe their circumstances create their thinking, but often the opposite is true. Two people can face the same challenge and walk away with completely different outcomes. One sees failure and decides to quit. The other sees a lesson and becomes stronger. The event was identical, yet the result was different because the thoughts were different. Life is not only about what happens to you, it is about the meaning your mind assigns to what happens. When your thoughts become stronger than your circumstances slowly begin to change. Your mind is like a garden that never stops growing. Whether you plant seeds intentionally or leave the ground unattended, something will always grow there. If you allow fear, doubt, resentment, comparison, and negativity to take root, they will spread quietly until they influence every decision you make. But if you consistently plant thoughts of patience, discipline, gratitude, courage, and responsibility, those thoughts will grow into habits that support the life you wish to create. The garden does not choose what grows. It simply develops whatever is planted repeatedly. Your mind works the same way. Many people spend years trying to change their habits without changing the thoughts that created those habits. They attempt to become disciplined while constantly telling themselves they are lazy. They seek confidence while repeatedly reminding themselves of every past mistake. If they want peace, while filling their minds with worry every hour of the day. This creates an inner conflict where their actions fight against their beliefs. Real transformation begins when your thoughts and your actions move in the same direction. Once your mind accepts a new identity, your behavior naturally begins to reflect it. Notice how a single thought can shape an entire day. You wake up believing everything will go wrong, and suddenly every inconvenience becomes proof that you were right. A delayed message feels like rejection. A mistake feels like failure. A criticism feels like an attack. Now imagine beginning the day with a different thought. Whatever comes today, I will face it with patience and clarity. The same events may occur, but your experience becomes completely different because your mind interprets them differently. Reality is often filtered through the lens of your thinking. This does not mean pretending that pain does not exist or forcing yourself to think positively all the time. Wisdom is not denying reality. Wisdom is refusing to allow temporary emotions to become permanent beliefs. Fear may appear, but you do not have to become a fearful person. Doubt may visit your mind, but you do not have to give it a permanent home. Anger may arise, but you do not have to let it control your words or your decisions. Every thought knocks on the door of your awareness, but only the thoughts you welcome repeatedly become part of your character. There is immense power in pausing before believing every thought that enters your mind. Ask yourself whether this thought makes you stronger or weaker. Does it move you toward your purpose or away from it? Does it encourage courage or feed hesitation? The disciplined mind does not automatically obey every inner voice. It observes, evaluates, and chooses wisely. That choice, repeated day after day, slowly transforms the entire direction of a person's life. Success, peace, resilience, and confidence are not accidents. They are built from countless moments in which a person chose constructive thoughts over destructive ones. Every disciplined action you admire in another human being first existed as an intentional thought that was protected, nurtured, and repeated until it became part of who they were. The life you are living today reflects the thoughts you have practiced for years, and the life you will experience tomorrow is already being shaped by the thoughts you choose to cultivate right now. The mind is one of the greatest gifts you possess. It allows you to imagine, create, solve problems, build relationships, and pursue meaningful goals. It has the power to transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. Yet this same mind can also become the source of endless suffering if it is left without discipline. Like fire, it can provide warmth or cause destruction. Like water, it can nourish life or overwhelm everything in its path. The difference is not found in the mind itself, but in whether you guide it or allow it to guide you. A disciplined mind becomes your greatest servant. An undisciplined mind quietly becomes your most demanding master. Consider how often your mind tells you what to do without asking whether it is right. It says, stay in bed a little longer. It whispers, skip today's work, you can start tomorrow. It urges you to react in anger before you understand the situation. It convinces you to compare your journey with someone else's success. It reminds you of every mistake you have ever made while ignoring every lesson you have learned. If you obey every thought without question, you slowly surrender your freedom. You begin living according to impulses rather than principles, emotions rather than wisdom, comfort rather than purpose. Many people believe they are making conscious decisions, yet much of their day is controlled by automatic thinking. They reach for distractions the moment they feel uncomfortable. They avoid challenges because the mind predicts failure before effort even begins. They speak words they later regret because emotion took control before awareness arrived. They abandon long-term goals for short-term pleasure because the mind naturally seeks what feels easy instead of what creates growth. Without discipline, these patterns repeat so often that they begin to feel like personality, when in reality they are simply habits of an untrained mind. The danger of an uncontrolled mind is not always dramatic. Most often, it works quietly. It steals your attention one distraction at a time. It weakens your confidence through repeated self-doubt. It fills ordinary moments with unnecessary worry about things that have not happened and may never happen. It convinces you that happiness depends on external circumstances instead of inner stability. Over time, these unnoticed patterns shape your decisions, influence your relationships, and determine the direction of your life without you ever realizing who is truly in control. Imagine riding a powerful horse. If the horse is trained, it carries you swiftly toward your destination. Its strength becomes your advantage because it responds to your guidance. But if the horse is wild and refuses direction, its strength becomes dangerous. Instead of taking you where you want to go, it drags you wherever it chooses. The human mind is much the same. Its power is extraordinary, but without discipline, that power pulls you toward fear, desire, distraction, and emotional reaction. Strength without direction becomes chaos. This is why awareness is more valuable than intelligence alone. A brilliant mind without self-control can create endless complications. A simple mind with discipline often achieves remarkable peace and steady progress. True mastery is not measured by how much knowledge you possess, but by how consistently you can remain calm when emotions rise, focused when distractions appear, and committed when comfort invites you to quit. Every moment of self-control strengthens your ability to lead your mind instead of following it blindly. When difficult thoughts arise, do not immediately believe them. When anger appears, do not assume it deserves expression. When fear speaks loudly, do not mistake its voice for truth. Learn to pause. In that brief space between thought and action lies your greatest power. The pause allows wisdom to replace impulse. It gives you the opportunity to ask whether this thought deserves your attention or whether it should simply pass without becoming part of your identity. Freedom is often misunderstood. Many believe freedom means doing whatever they feel like doing. But if every emotion controls your behavior, you are not free. You are a servant to your impulses. Real freedom is the ability to choose your response regardless of what your mind presents. It is waking up early even when comfort tells you to stay asleep. It is remaining silent when anger demands an argument. It is continuing your work when doubt encourages surrender. Every disciplined choice reminds the mind that it exists to serve your purpose, not to rule your life. The day you stop obeying every passing thought is the day you begin living with true inner authority. And from that moment, your mind gradually becomes the faithful servant it was always meant to be, rather than the master that once controlled every direction of your life. Before you can change your thoughts, you must first become aware of them. This is where true transformation begins. Most people spend their entire lives reacting to what happens inside their minds without ever stopping to observe it. A thought appears, and they immediately believe it. An emotion rises, and they instantly act on it. Fear tells them they are not capable, and they accept it as truth. Anger demands a response, and they obey without hesitation. Doubt whispers that success is impossible, and they quietly give up before taking the first step. This is not because they are weak. It is because they have never learned the simple yet profound practice of awareness. You cannot control what you refuse to notice, and you cannot improve what you never observe. Imagine standing beside a river. The water continues to flow, whether you pay attention to it or not. Leaves, branches, and countless objects drift past with the current. Your thoughts are much like this river. They are constantly moving, changing, and appearing without invitation. Some thoughts are peaceful and encouraging. Others are fearful, negative, or distracting. The mistake most people make is jumping into the river and allowing themselves to be carried away by every passing current. Awareness teaches you to stand on the riverbank instead. You watch the thoughts come and go without allowing every one of them to determine your direction. There is a powerful difference between saying, "I am angry," and saying, "I notice that anger is present." The first statement turns the emotion into your identity. The second creates a small but life-changing distance between you and the emotion. That distance is where wisdom begins. It reminds you that emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. They arrive, they stay for a while, and eventually they leave. When you become aware of them, without immediately reacting, you stop allowing temporary feelings to make permanent decisions. Many people believe that the goal is to eliminate negative thoughts completely. This is neither realistic nor necessary. Even the strongest and wisest individuals experience fear, doubt, frustration, and uncertainty. The difference is not in what enters their minds. The difference is in how they respond. They recognize a destructive thought without feeding it. They acknowledge fear without surrendering to it. They feel discomfort without allowing it to define their choices. Awareness gives them the freedom to respond with intention rather than instinct. Think about how often your day is shaped by unconscious habits. You reach for your phone without realizing why. You criticize yourself after making a small mistake. You compare your life to someone else's success without questioning whether the comparison is fair. These actions often happen so quickly that they feel automatic. But the moment awareness enters, the automatic becomes optional. You suddenly have the ability to pause and ask, why am I doing this? Does this thought help me become the person I want to be? That single question has the power to interrupt years of unconscious behavior. Awareness is not about judging yourself. It is not about feeling guilty every time your mind wanders or every time a negative thought appears. Judgment creates resistance, while awareness creates understanding. Observe your thoughts with curiosity rather than criticism. Notice the patterns that repeat themselves. Notice the situations that trigger fear, impatience, or self-doubt. Every observation teaches you something valuable about yourself. Instead of becoming frustrated by these discoveries, become grateful. You cannot repair what remains hidden, but once something is brought into the light of awareness, change becomes possible. This practice requires patience because the mind has spent years developing its habits. It will continue producing old patterns for some time. Do not become discouraged when negative thoughts return. Their appearance does not mean you have failed. Success is not measured by having fewer thoughts. Success is measured by becoming less controlled by them. Every time you notice a thought, without automatically following it, you strengthen your awareness. Every time you choose a wise response instead of an emotional reaction, you train your mind to serve you rather than command you. Over time, this quiet practice changes every part of your life. Your relationships improve because you stop reacting impulsively. Your work becomes more focused because distractions lose their grip. Your confidence grows because you no longer believe every critical voice inside your head. Challenges become opportunities to practice calm instead of reasons to panic. You begin to understand that peace is not something the world gives you. It is something that grows within you each time you observe your inner world with honesty, patience, and clarity, allowing awareness to become the steady foundation upon which every disciplined thought, every wise decision, and every meaningful action is built. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They bring color to life, deepen our relationships, and help us recognize what matters most. Joy gives us gratitude, sadness teaches compassion, fear warns us of danger, and anger reveals when something feels unjust. Emotions themselves are not the enemy. The problem begins when emotions become the leader of your life instead of your companion. A person who follows every feeling without discipline becomes unstable, moving from one impulse to another, never building the consistency required for lasting growth. Discipline is what allows you to acknowledge your emotions without surrendering your future to them. There will always be days when you do not feel motivated. There will be mornings when your body feels heavy, your mind is filled with excuses, and comfort seems far more attractive than effort. If you only act when you feel inspired, your progress will always depend on circumstances beyond your control. Motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days it arrives with energy and excitement. Other days it disappears without warning. Discipline, however, does not ask how you feel. It asks only what must be done. It quietly reminds you that your future is built not by occasional bursts of inspiration, but by repeated acts of commitment. Think about a farmer who plants seeds in the ground. He does not stop watering them because he feels tired one morning. He does not abandon the field because the first week shows no visible results. He understands that growth is invisible before it becomes visible. Every day he continues his work with patience because he trusts the process. Discipline works in the same way. The effort you make today may not produce immediate rewards, but every disciplined choice strengthens the foundation upon which future success is built. Many people confuse comfort with happiness. They believe avoiding difficulty will create peace. In reality, comfort often creates stagnation. Every meaningful achievement requires temporary discomfort. Learning a new skill demands patience. Building a healthy body requires consistent effort. Repairing relationships calls for humility. Achieving financial stability requires wise decisions and self-control. None of these paths feel easy in the beginning. The undisciplined mind seeks immediate pleasure because it wants relief from discomfort. The disciplined mind accepts temporary discomfort because it understands that lasting fulfillment lies on the other side of consistent effort. One of the greatest tests of discipline appears during emotional storms. Someone criticizes you unfairly. Your first instinct is to react with anger. Someone disappoints you and resentment begins to grow. A setback occurs and your mind tells you to quit. These moments reveal whether emotion or wisdom is leading your life. Discipline does not mean suppressing your feelings or pretending they do not exist. It means creating enough space between feeling and action to choose a response that reflects your values instead of your impulses. Imagine an archer aiming at a distant target. If the wind changes direction, he does not throw away his bow. He adjusts his aim while keeping his eyes fixed on the target. Emotions are like the wind. They shift constantly. Some days they push you forward, and other days they pull you backward. Your purpose is the target. Discipline keeps your attention on where you are going instead of allowing every emotional change to determine your direction. The person who remains committed despite changing emotions eventually reaches goals that those driven only by feelings never achieve. Every disciplined decision strengthens your character in ways that cannot be measured immediately. Waking up when you want to sleep teaches responsibility. Remaining calm during conflict develops emotional maturity. Finishing your work when distractions call your name builds integrity. Saying no to short-term temptation creates long-term freedom. These moments may seem small, but they quietly shape the kind of person you become. Character is not built during extraordinary moments alone. It is built through ordinary decisions repeated with extraordinary consistency. The strongest individuals are not those who never experience fear, frustration, or doubt. They are those who refuse to let these emotions become the authors of their lives. They recognize that feelings are temporary, but the consequences of their choices can last for years. Every time they choose discipline over impulse, patience over frustration, courage over fear, and purpose over comfort, they strengthen the quiet power within themselves. Over time, that power becomes unshakable because it is no longer dependent on changing emotions, but rooted in unwavering commitment. Allowing every action to reflect wisdom instead of impulse and every step to move steadily toward a life of purpose, resilience, and lasting inner strength. A meaningful life is not created by luck, talent, or perfect circumstances. It is created by the quality of your daily choices, and every choice begins in the mind. Before success becomes visible, it exists as a disciplined thought. Before confidence is seen by others, it is quietly cultivated within. Before a person becomes resilient in the face of hardship, they first learn to govern the conversations taking place inside their own mind. This is why a controlled mind does not simply improve one part of your life. It transforms the entire direction of your existence. When your thoughts become intentional, your actions become purposeful, and when your actions become purposeful, your life begins to reflect the person you truly wish to become. Many people spend years searching for purpose, as though it is something hidden somewhere in the world, waiting to be discovered. They travel, change careers, seek approval, and collect achievements, hoping that one day fulfillment will suddenly appear. Yet purpose rarely arrives through endless searching. It grows through clarity, discipline, and consistent action. A distracted mind cannot recognize purpose because it is constantly pulled in different directions. One day it wants comfort, the next day it wants recognition, another day it wants to quit altogether. A controlled mind, however, stays focused on what truly matters. It learns to ignore temporary distractions so that lasting meaning can take root. Imagine a ship crossing a vast ocean. The sea is unpredictable. Storms arise without warning. Waves become rough, and powerful winds attempt to push the ship away from its destination. The captain cannot control the weather, but he can control the direction of the ship. He continually adjusts the sails, corrects the course, and keeps his eyes fixed on the horizon. Your life follows the same principle. You cannot control every event that happens to you. You cannot prevent every disappointment, loss, or challenge. But you can control the direction of your mind. When your thoughts remain steady, external difficulties lose their power to determine your destination. A controlled mind also creates confidence, but not the kind that depends on praise or success. It creates quiet confidence rooted in self-trust. You begin to trust yourself because you consistently keep the promises you make. You say you will wake up early, and you do. You decide to remain calm during conflict, and you practice it. You commit to learning a new skill, and you continue even when progress feels slow. Each disciplined action becomes evidence that you are capable of leading yourself. This form of confidence cannot be taken away by criticism because it was never built on the opinions of others. It was built on your own integrity. Resilience grows from the same foundation. Life will challenge everyone without exception. There will be moments of uncertainty, failure, rejection, and unexpected change. The uncontrolled mind interprets these moments as proof that life is unfair, or that giving up is the only option. The controlled mind sees them differently. It asks, what can this experience teach me? How can I become stronger through this? Instead of resisting hardship, it uses hardship as a tool for growth. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to deepen patience, wisdom, and inner strength. Relationships also change when the mind is under control. You listen more carefully because you are not constantly preparing your next response. You speak with intention instead of reacting emotionally. You forgive more easily because resentment no longer dominates your thinking. You become less interested in proving yourself right and more interested in understanding others. A peaceful mind naturally creates peaceful relationships because your words and actions begin to reflect clarity instead of confusion. Perhaps the greatest gift of a controlled mind is freedom. Freedom is not having every desire fulfilled. It is not living without challenges or responsibilities. True freedom is knowing that no matter what happens around you, you remain the master of your response. Your peace no longer depends on people's opinions. Your happiness is no longer controlled by temporary success or failure. Your direction is no longer determined by fear or distraction. You become anchored within yourself. Every sunrise offers another opportunity to train the mind. Every challenge becomes another chance to practice patience. Every difficult conversation becomes another lesson in self-control. These moments may appear ordinary, but together they shape an extraordinary life. A meaningful life is not built through one grand decision. It is built through thousands of disciplined thoughts that become wise actions repeated with consistency until they form an unshakable character. When your mind is guided by purpose instead of impulse, by awareness instead of distraction, and by discipline instead of emotion, your life gradually becomes a reflection of your highest values, allowing you to walk each day with clarity, resilience, humility, and a quiet confidence that comes from mastering yourself. Before attempting to master anything else,